My name's Amelia Kramer. I am the owner at Upwards Art Studio. Upwards Art is what we've rebranded as now that we're at Heritage Place Shopping Center. So today's demo is about RNF gesso, or encaustic gesso. We have it in 3 different sizes. There is another size that is huge that I can order, but it would be like if you're using this all the time. So these are the different jars. We'll just set them aside for a moment. So gesso is something that you put on before you paint. So most canvases come pre-gessoed. So that's what the white on your canvas looks like, because if you go to a fabric shop and see canvas, it's not actually white, right? It's this beige. So most canvas is pre-gessoed, usually 3 coats using an acrylic gesso. The RNF gesso is a special gesso because encaustic wax will not bond to acrylic. So this gesso, encaustic gesso was developed by RNF. They are one of the leaders in encaustic paints, encaustic mediums. They make the gessos. They also make pigment sticks that can work with encaustic. So there's very little linseed oil in them. Actually, I don't think there's any linseed oil. So they're not flammable. It's not an issue if you heat them. Whereas other ones have all of that. Oil paint has that, so you wouldn't heat it. So the RNF gesso is specifically designed for encaustic painting. It's a matte absorbent surface. Technically, there's acrylic in it, but the ratio of acrylic to binder is so small that it doesn't really matter. So it can be used on wood panels. That's what we're going to use today. So because the panels come with nothing on them, it's a great ground if you're starting with encaustic and you don't care if you have a white background. So colors that are opaque, that you're doing many layers, probably doesn't matter if you use it. But if you're doing very few layers and they're all transparent colors, you might want the white background. There's other ways to use it as well. So we'll talk about those. Well, actually, it's also really great for oil and cold wax, or oil painting in general. Oil and cold wax has all the solvents in it. So if you're doing it on paper, you really need a specialized paper, like an oil paper. If you have a whole bunch of watercolor paper and you're like, I don't really want to buy some more paper, then you can put this down as a ground so that you can use that paper. Because otherwise the solvents will eat away at your paper, right? So you want a barrier. Yeah, okay. So encaustic gesso, when it comes, sometimes it's settled. So this is just a jar here. Sometimes it's settled, so it has this little, can't see it on the camera very well, but it has this little like layer of kind of watery stuff. So I'm just gonna grab, you can use a brush or a stir stick. I have a stir stick for the bigger one, and just stir like you're stirring paint. I wouldn't shake it because we don't want air bubbles in it. And I wouldn't try to like whisk it or anything. We're just trying to stir it and get it all together. Okay. So I applied this today I applied it with this big glue brush. Well, I'm gonna set this right here and regret my life choices in a moment. So I applied this one, with a big glue brush. You can use the, look at that, that's crazy. Okay, you can use the foam brushes. Oh my gosh, I gotta stop doing that. It's because it was in my water. And it's an old brush, so it's just like spitting out water. Okay, so that's no longer dry. We'll see how we do with that. So you would brush it on or roll it on. That's another option, is to use like a foam roller. roll it on, especially like a bigger canvas. If you're doing a huge thing, then use a bigger tool. So you brush it on in a thin layer, let it dry completely, and then you sand it. So this one has one layer on it, and then you just take a sanding block, and you don't need to show me, I don't need to show you how to sand. Yeah, so, and I would sand the edges too. This one I taped, actually, I think I taped all of them except for one. So when I do encaustic, without the gesso, and I want to tape, I tape down to like here where that ply is, because the wax, once you take off the tape, the wax can crack at that spot and take off your painting on the front. So with that, I always leave that whatever the depth of the ply is of your board, these are all 3/8. On this, because I want the gesso right just on the top, I taped almost up to the top, or as close as I could get without going crazy. Because otherwise your gesso will drip down the sides, you'll have to sand it off. Or if you want to do the sides, I would, do the face of it and one side at a time, right? Just so that it will be a longer process, but yeah. So you can apply as many layers of gesso as you want. Let me get this out of here. So on this one, this has one. I would apply probably at least 2. This one has 3, but obviously it's wet now. We're just gonna go with it. So you want it to dry and feel cold, not like wet cold, but like cold, or like, yeah. Before you put on a new layer, and I would dry overnight if possible after your last layer, just so that it has enough time and you're pretty sure it's dry. Okay, so I've got my brush. I blotted it on some paper towel. That's because I had it in a jug of water. If you're just going straight to the gesso, you don't need that. And you just brush it on. It's not really that. This is not rocket surgery by any means. And I'm just going to do a little bit because I'm going to show some other ways to tint the gesso, so that you have options for an underpainting. If your gesso gets thick, so it's been sitting in a jar or something for a while, you can reconstitute it. So I would put like little drips of water into it and let it sit, and then stir it like in an hour or 2, and then see if you need some more water. But it's adding little tiny bits of water rather than like, oh, I need to reconstitute the whole thing. The more water you add, the less stable it is, right? So, okay. So you can pigment the gesso, which I kind of alluded to before. This, right, the white gives you a white background, which is kind of plain Jane. So you can also do a full underpainting with it, so that you don't need to use as much wax. So to custom color, so this is, this one is RNF gesso with aqua dispersion dyes from Cama Pigment. Okay, let's get this out of the way here. So this is the full set. They're dye, a pigment dye, suspended in water. So they're highly concentrated. If you have a lot of gesso, because the gesso is white, it's gonna kind of take on that white. So that's an option, is like if I wanted a lot of this, like this, I used the orange. But if you wanted a lot of that color, I would just mix it into a jar, a screw top jar, and then you can use it over and over. So that's what this color is after one coat, close to being able to sand. So you can also use a wet palette. So I'm demoing these soon. I can't remember when. So these are the Masterson wet palettes. Oh my gosh. So they have a sponge underneath. They keep your paper wet, and then they can close, and it will keep your paints being able to be used without like putting saran wrap all over them. And yeah, so cats won't walk. Well, if cats walk on them, it's not a big deal, right? And you're not getting like cat hair in everything, which is a problem for artists for sure. So I can pigment. So I've got some, I've taken some out with a spoon, obviously, because there's my dirty spoon, onto my wet palette. Okay, so I've got some colors here. Because this is less gesso, I'm gonna start with 2 drops of any color. If you're worried about having stained hands, put on some nitrile gloves. So I'm just gonna start with, oh, this one I've used a lot, obviously. Comes out in drops normally. Oh, I probably should have shaken it. Okay, and this brush is very, okay, I don't mind it being a little bit dirty. You can mix with your brush, or you can mix with a palette knife. Right, so that magenta is really lovely. Still going a bit white, so I could add, you can also like mix them together. So let's find here this purple, right? If you want like a, oops, that was way too much. A custom color. Oh, that was brown. Oh, okay. I thought that was purple because there was purple all over the, anyway. Okay, well that's a lovely color. Yeah. So let's just paint that on here because now I have a lot of paint on my brush. Kind of like a bubble gummy. The streaks are okay. Like if you get a bit of it, like, oh, that didn't work there. But if you have like a bit of dye in one spot, you don't need to like make it all the samey. Okay. Then you can, oh gosh, brown on mine. I'm such a messy painter. So you can also use golden fluid acrylic and golden high flow. This is one of their new colors this year in 2025. So, well, it came out just before Christmas, fluorescent magenta. Okay, so there's a magenta theme going on here. Again, you don't need very much. I'm gonna find a new brush. So this one's, right, it's quite bright. Actually goes, they're kind of going pastel-y, which is a bit, maybe I think I have too much gesso out. So you don't want to add too much because these do have plastic, but yep, okay. I'm kind of getting the same color because I keep using magenta. Right, and I can layer them. I can make a full painting if I wanted to underneath. So I can go on this one, which is dry. But you could do like wet on wet applications, wet on dry, right? So that other one's kind of, oh, you can see that on the video probably. So this magenta here, like the darker one, I guess, is still wet, whereas this white is drier. So there's that one. I picked the smallest boards in the world. So you could paint on an easel, right? If you're used to painting upright and you're coming to encaustic from a different medium, this is a great way to kind of get your feet wet. And then I have some black. I will do it on this little bit. Oh. These need shaken. They have a little ball in them like spray paint. These are super pigmented. They actually most of them come in little bottles about this size. We can order the larger ones though. Okay, so they need shaken to get that ball moving around. You can shake them upside down. So that just gets the pigments off the walls of the bottle. And I could, you know, paint something else. So this is a really, like, especially with dark color or the white, right? That encaustic paint is expensive. So making a full, almost a full painting underneath and then adding little touches of wax where you need them is a really economical way to use encaustic. Okay, all of those are wet, so I can be able to show how to use those. Okay, we'll find one. So that's how to pigment gesso. So aqua dispersion, the golden fluid, the golden high flow, and then this is the Cama aqua dispersion again in a jar. So we're gonna paint with some encaustic just to show you what it looks like on a gesso. I basically came to encaustic first in my art journey, so I'm not all about letting paint dry, which is why I love encaustic, because it like has no dry time. So that's just a personal thing. Okay, so we got our torch, which I just moved the airflow for. We have one that I've gessoed, so this just has one coat on it. These are, oh, that one's really dirty. Anyway, these are ampersand encaustic boards. So ampersand works with RNF, that they get their gesso, and then ampersand heat sets the gesso onto their panels. It's kind of like it's baked on. It is a proprietary way of doing it. They are super smooth compared to something that's wood, right? And then this one's like velvety. These for me are super expensive to order because they're expensive in the States. So I looked into getting some when we first opened, and it was out of the question, like how much it would cost for the end user. So if you're in the States, or if you ever go to the States again, which we're shaking our heads, they are available at like Cheap Joe's and Dick Blick and stuff like that, where they are more affordable because, well, besides the exchange, right, you're not paying extra duties and stuff like that. Okay, so this one's, we're gonna do 2 of them because I generally work on 2 at a time. If not, like, if I were doing this size, I'd probably work on 6 at a time. Just because they need a little bit of curing time, but not very much. Okay, and we're gonna not burn that tape that's showing me where the edge of my camera goes. Okay, so I'm gonna show with some transparent-ish colors. I did not test these out, so we're just gonna, oh, that one's a little bit dirty, that's okay. This one's very transparent. I had some art after school kids teaching them how to use it. There's like dog hair in that. There's no dog in this studio. There's dog at the old one. So she had a big ball of wax that she had scraped off of stuff. So it remelted. So there's some of this. I should stir some of these a little bit better. With encaustic, the pigment sinks to the bottom. So when you go to paint again, just you give them a little stir to get them going. I'm gonna paint in 1 layer-ish. Try not to go over. This is just basic encaustic painting. So we paint in layers so that the wax, once we fuse it with the heat, then it will bond to the layer below. Another thing that you can do that I'll do with this one, if I remember, is to heat the gesso beforehand. Because the panels are cold, the wax tends to leave these air bubbles. The more wax you put on, the less, like, the more they'll get rid of themselves. A lot of people like fret over the air bubbles, but there's another YouTube where I have comments on that. This is a new tank, so if it spurts, we're just gonna go with it. So I'm just heating it gently. So this is fusing the wax to the bottom layer, which is the gesso. And then I'm just gonna set it aside.
And how long would that take to set?
You can touch it already. So we just don't want it too hot, because the hot wax, if you put on more hot wax, it will just pick up the wax that's down there already. So on this one, I'm gonna heat it. I have my torch with a lot of air, right? So it's not direct air, it's very dispersed, and I'm just gonna heat it up. And you can see little dust particles getting blown away. You can also do this with a heat gun if you're like the heating of the panels, if you're not super confident in that, or if you have like a propane torch. I'm just gonna heat that up one more time. So it should feel warm, and I'll let you touch it, and then, right?
Oh yeah.
So the wax should go on smoother. That one is the dirtiest wax in the world. I should stop using that yellow. Let's use this yellow with like nothing in it.
And is this heated? This is,
Yeah,
it's on right now.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so liquid.
Yeah, so this is, I'm using a pancake griddle. There are other methods of heating the wax. This is the one that I have immediate access to today. That was already filled with pots. So other options are Polyroll and hot box there, which always sounds funny to me for all the drugs. An RNF palette, which are not being made anymore. And there's some buffet griddle, like buffet warming plates that can be used. You can make your own hot box. Anyway, there's lots of options. This, I have the air still really open, so that's a lot smoother. I should have just done that with the other one too. And because I heated the substrate, it's gonna take a little bit longer for the wax to cool. I can see it cooling in my light. Not sure you can see that on camera. This part is still wet here. So I don't want to move it if it's still liquid, right? Because water runs, not that this is water, but it will drip, which is, I'm not sure why adults do it so much. Kids don't. But then kids generally don't do a lot of things than adults do. And now I can just come on top again and add more layers. I believe there's also a video for painting with encaustic that's a full video about that. So we'll just do a little bit more on camera and then turn it off. And we can talk about, you and I can talk about painting with this. All right, so I'm getting that really luminescent, oh, that's similar blue. That glow of the white, especially under the yellow. And now I keep, those are all the same. That's kind of weird. Okay, let's do this orange. All right, so the orange is gonna be transparent, and that's just making it glow even more. And heat again. Oh, and this is slow air again. It's supposed to. And this blue must have some white in it, because because it's separating, but it never separates how you want it to. Okay, so let's use this Rosie's pink. And then use some of this here. Okay, so it's really keeping that brilliance of the white underneath. Oh, that was a poor decision. That was not a poor decision. I like that. I don't have any scraping tools to rethink that choice. So I could take off that orange or that purple, but I'm like, oh, I kind of made it brown. So really, like, it's really coming through and luminescent, and it's still keeping that heat pretty well. Yeah, so you can just keep painting on layers. The gesso is really great for these really highly transparent layers. I kind of lost that in this because I usually just paint like 20 to 30 layers. So, but something really delicate and you want that luminescence to come through. Encaustic gesso is a very good way to do that.